Hello and welcome to the Creative Community Podcast. This is the show where we interview local creatives and creative organisations. I am your host, Claire Beardraz. I am a creative freelancer, spoken word performer and creative arts therapist. And for today's episode, I'm joined by the lovely, talented, wonderful Lumenate. Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm living my best life, I'd say.
Yes.
The weather's been popping today. I've been taking it in, I think.
Oh, definitely.
I've been taking on the vibes of the sun, for sure. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. I'm wondering if we could just firstly start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and Lumenate for those who might have not heard of you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know really.
Bit of a loaded question, isn't it? Bit of a loaded question.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who are you? Where are you from? Yeah, so I always do like a silly introduction that I could do now actually that would summarize who I am.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, my name is Lumenate. No, not Luminate. Luminates, like the space inside a blood vessel and the meaning for light. I'm a sucker for a melody and monster beat, messing with wordplay and resonance peaks. Can't compete, but it's not a competition when you feel all this love that I'm giving. Oh, so unapologetic, electric, I get it. Mic in hand, I feel so kinetic. To have the guts to spill your creativity on display. Only juices I let flow is from a carton of juice, spilling down my shirt like a liquid noose, or the undercover puddle on masturbation day. Was that too far? Too spicy? Too dicey? Did I just lower the bar? Should I bow my head now and go sit in the car? Nope. Masturbation for the nation, because life is hard. Work hard, play harder, do what makes you happy inside and out. Let your freak flag fly without a doubt. And that's my intro.
I love that.
But it's an amalgamation of everything is what I do. So that was inspired by the hip hop community that have heavily influenced a lot of poets in the scene. Shouts to Hip Hop HQ, run by Alex Motormouth. It's amazing. And I always like to lead with that because I was so inspired by the word mouths of hip hop, and they always have a mixture of genres where they're multi-creatives, where they're musicians, they're actors, they're singers, they're writers. They do absolutely everything they produce, and that's what inspires me, I think, is to have no lines whatsoever and just play with all the crayons in the colouring book and have a go at it. So yeah.
I love that like image of like playing with all the crayons.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
taking everything and creating what you want from it.
Absolutely. I'm at this point now where people are like, what do you do? And a lot of the time I'm like, well, tell me a thing, like offer me a scenario. And 9 times out of 10 I'll be like, well, let's give it a go and see what happens. And yeah, that's been the fun of it, the fun of the journey of just starting out in the creative industry now. But yeah.
Do you think you've always been that sort of person who would like you ask or you name it, I'll do it sort of thing? Or is that something that's sort of developed over time?
So I'm an impulsive person.
Right.
Like a lot of the time I will say yeah. Now I'm starting to be a little bit more aware of spreading myself thin. But I'm always up for an opportunity to have fun. I think that's the main goal. And when it comes to creative releases, there's always fun involved. So yeah, but I think I used to have a lot of fear when it came to creative indulgences, and in the past couple of years, it's definitely just gone, well, what have I got to lose? Let's give it a go. So, yeah.
Creative indulgences as well. What does that mean to you when you say like creative indulgences? Because for me, that's like, that just exudes so much energy in itself, that phrase of like describing it in that way.
Like, so well, indulgence is kind of seeing it's like forbidden fruit that gives you pleasure, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But to be creative and to express it is actually a very natural thing to do that is sometimes perceived as perceived as forbidden or like
Right.
frowned upon, or maybe like, oh, you should focus on work, you should focus on doing something more serious.
Right.
And yeah, so to me, creative indulgence is just like giving in to that urge and that pull to just express yourself in different ways.
And I guess part of that as well is like you sort of describe as like expressing yourself in different ways, not having to pick one and that's it.
Yeah,
sort of
a lot of the
thing.
time, especially when I was in uni, they were like, pick a thing, like pick
Right.
one thing or pick a genre or a definition. And I really struggled with that. And even now when people ask me, it's like, what do you do? And I'm like, just do a bit of everything. Where are you from? Bit of everywhere. Like, yeah, I don't know. It sounds vague and probably frustrating, but it means I never wanted to lead coming into this with like, oh, you're going to put me in a box of just doing one thing.
Of course.
And I've found that's really opened up doors to be like, okay, yeah, the type of person that just falls into everything and sees what happens.
Yeah, you don't want to place yourself in a box or place limitations on yourself by saying you do like, I mean, for some people that works, right? They find their one thing and they're like, that's it, that's what I want to do. But for others, you know, where you want to use all those crayons, I'm definitely one of those people where I'm just like, you know, I definitely have one thing like my spoken word that's more of my main like art form at the moment. But who knows where all my other sort of creative outlets will take me, or which one would. It's sort of dynamic, I guess, in that sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
But your spoken word is extremely dynamic. I found it was so hard-hitting and so powerful, where it's like, you know, not we're supposed to be quiet, but there's moments where you're like, we're here to listen. And I was just like sitting on this table with Ali like, yes! But like, to tackle some of the subjects that you're tackling, a lot of people do not do that in public. And it's needed in the community, I'd say.
Thank you. I mean, I've definitely had challenges with that. I've had literally times where I have like performed in public and I've had the classic old person who thinks that like it's okay to just, you know, jump in.
Yeah, something you said is like tickled their ego and they're like, well, I'm going to confront this.
And so it's like, well, why do you feel uncomfortable with what I'm saying? I wonder where that's from, because it's definitely not a me thing. It's a them thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's always like, well, thank you for proving my words correct by doing that. There's literally been like a piece where I've literally said like, why do I always have like these higher upper class like white cis men interrupt me, and who was heckling me? And I was like,
oh my god,
I guess I'm not being dramatic, am I then?
So I've had it at the odd gigs and just been like, I'm gonna tell you right now down the mic to shut up. Like, this is none of your business. If you want to spread your opinion, honey, you write a poem about it, you sign up to these shows and perform for us, and you see how it feels. But it's always harder than it looks. I think people look, because it's so natural to some people, it looks so effortless, and you don't realise the amount of work that goes into it, but also the amount of life experience. A lot of poetry is it's just painting a picture of someone's life experience, and who are you to confront that person and be like, your life experience is wrong? And it's like, okay, you write it for me then.
Yeah. Seeming as you know so much.
Oh, yeah.
By all means. Write the story for me.
Reflect your history.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's another thing, right, about like different art forms in different spaces have different, they just all carry different sort of energies to them.
Definitely.
I don't know if you find that.
Oh, I absolutely do. It's kind of, it's the beauty of bouncing around different scenes as you get to, because I do get a little fatigued of echo chamber scenarios where you've got the same attitudes, the same conversations over and over, and it's like, well, if you don't spend time with other people, then how are you expecting to experience new things, experience new developments in your attitude? Like, you're aware of this, you do philosophy, like, and that's all about challenging how you think, how you feel, what you know, and to me, it's very much needed. And each scene, and they do have their problems, but there's also benefits to be had from it. Absolutely.
Do you find then when you're navigating through those different spaces, then that it requires different aspects of yourself, I guess, to like come to the forefront, or is that something you've not even like noticed?
Sometimes I actually, because I'm quite a fluid person anyway, and I have many different moods. And sometimes I embrace certain scenarios to be like, I can finally express this side of myself. And it'll be a little bit more acknowledged and reciprocated than being like, oh, that's just a bit strange. But yeah, and not a lot of people know this about me, but I did spend like 10 years just as a spectator in the metal scene, like with a lot of very masculine communities, and it's kind of funny transitioning into other areas and seeing how different kinds of open people are, the different kind of conversations that happen, but we all have different sides of ourselves, and it's really nice to be able to express it in different ways and have it be taken on board in different ways as well. I don't know if that's a vague way of putting it, but
I don't think that's vague at all. I think that makes total sense as well. And like you say, there is that sort of openness in different spaces where you can let this certain side out of you.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you know, there are some spaces, right, where you feel safe enough to talk about those experiences you might have like put in a creative output in some way.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of one of the... It's still something I'm readjusting, being in the poetry scene in particular, because the different people you get reeling through what they've written, oh my goodness. I was talking to Jerry Clarkson about it yesterday, and he was like, yeah, that you cross paths with people you would never meet in any other scenario, and you're like, wow, this is just... sparked a little light in my mind of just a new way of thinking or a new appreciation, because you hear people struggle as well, and you're like, it kind of bonds you together where you're like, wow, it doesn't matter how different we are, we're all experiencing similar human experiences. So,
absolutely. I often find when I leave sort of open mic nights or any sort of form of poetry event, I often leave with like notes on my phone from like, oh, like it's just like hearing someone's sort of piece, I'm feel inspired to... It sparked another thought in my head. I'm like, oh, I want to write about this, or like, you know, it's like you're saying, sort of, if you have spaces that are constantly closed off, how are you to gain new experience, new sort of thoughts or ways of thinking, or even being?
Absolutely.
If you're not, in some ways, I guess expose sounds quite harsh, but like, you know, providing yourself that vulnerability to be in a space. Like
vulnerability exposure is definitely a key part, and you notice the difference. I'm sure you've had this a few times when people approach you after being on stage and they're like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I've got nothing to say. And I was like, you've got something to say. Like, you've kept it bottled for this long, you've got a lot to say. And I even saw a gentleman at the last Give Poetry a Chance who said that exact thing to me. And then we shared a lineup, and I actually just sobbed at his poems. He was like, so this is me processing a few life things that happened. And he talked about his dad passing away and never being there for him and all his children, but also talked about a lot of fun things that happened, but also growing as a man in society. And I find it's interesting because you don't see many men opening up either, because of this social idea of toxic masculinity, of like, you can only really express yourself in what, like anger, or like extreme joyful misogyny or competitiveness. But there is such a spectrum, and it's beautiful to see it, especially as well, like the rawness of being on stage. Just, it's so good.
Yeah. I love that ability of like, you like you said, like that example you've given. You know, you'll have someone who might just be there to watch, thinking about it, but not really sure about it, and then they'll leave that space and be like, actually, I'm ready. I'm just gonna give it a go.
Just do
It's
it.
just surrounding yourself with people who sort of almost sort of hold you or nurture you in some way. Like being in a safe space like that really allows you to be as authentic as you
Absolutely.
can.
I've noticed that these people that hold these spaces, the most interesting part is I've come from a background where people are like, push harder, go,
Right.
go, go. And I didn't really get the results that I wanted. And then it would like end in self-punishment psychologically. And then just being simply told, you don't have to do this thing. But if you do it, like, we'll support you either way. If you don't do it, we'll still like it will still be a safe space, and if you do, then we're gonna cheer you on. And having that option to not, I found it like provokes a little spark to be like, I'm gonna do it then. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to, I want to, and that is the difference between you have to and you get to. Is like an interesting attitude change.
And it gives autonomy, doesn't it? Back to yourself, as well, in a sort of, I relate to that of constantly being so you have to do this, you have to be reaching a certain level or having all these sorts of achievements or like places I need to be by a certain age and doing certain things, and it's like you have that constantly going in the back of your head, but then you know you lose yourself, you lose that control of how you choose to be.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. It's hard to live up to a measure of this ideal of perfectionism that doesn't exist.
Right.
And yeah, I think once that's let go of, a lot of fun things happen, and it's kind of like giving yourself permission to do things.
Yeah.
Or to not do things. Sometimes I'll spend days in bed, and other days I'll do 3 events in one day and be like, yeah. But yeah, it swings and roundabouts, really.
Exactly. So it's like ebbs and flows of sort of being creative that I think allows the best work to come out. It's not like I constantly have to be in the go. I constantly, like you say, like I can have the same sort of thing where I'll spend a whole weekend just completely, absolutely just being in bed. Like just giving myself, because that's what I need. Right. And it's like not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing at all. And actually it'll probably work out better when it comes to the time when I do feel ready to write or to perform or to do any of that, even have a conversation. Like, you know, it all is all linked. It's not
absolutely.
Like these...
It gives your brain like breathing space.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favourite thing to do when you relax?
Okay. I'm like maybe too much of a fan of TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, for me, TikTok is one of my self-cares. It is like if I want a break from things, I want an escape, I will go on TikTok.
Amazing.
Because I don't have to think.
I
can just watch for a few seconds and swipe and forget about it and just be like, oh, on to next.
That's interesting. I'm an old man, so I've only recently joined the TikTok.
Yeah.
And it is funny. I'm still in that era of it took me so long to join Instagram, and I think it'll take me the same amount of time to transition over. But I do like that you can make like fun video effects with it and add like different kinds of audio and voiceover. That really tickles me. But yeah, like back to back little entertainment snippets are always good. And the talent that's out there and that is showcased on TikTok, oh my god. I saw they've now released like options to release like 10-minute videos, and they've got the music label thing as well, and I was like, oh my god, you're making moves, TikToks.
It's like, such a great platform, isn't it? I mean, even to use, whether you use it private, like I make TikToks, I do not post them publicly, like I keep it only to whoever I follow can see it.
Oh really?
But it's still nice for me to like have that little creative output of like, if I'm scrolling through your TikTok, I'm like, oh, that looks fun, I'm gonna do it myself, and I just can just like record it and then like leave it in my drafts or post it, and just like it's just like maybe 4 of my mates might see it and be like, oh look, you did that, I want to do it too. And
I love that. I do want to get into the dancing challenges because they look fun, and I've only just started really buckling back down with burlesque class and different types of dance. So yeah, to do it on a regular basis again, I think that's like a sweet motivation. But I love how it bonds people. And I've noticed a lot of independent artists have actually really benefited from it.
Definitely.
Like, there's some where I just, you know that guy Russ?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like 1 minute he's just doing like little posts here and there, and then next minute he's like smashing the charts, doing music videos with Tiffany. It was Tiffany Haddish, and I was like, yes,
absolutely crazy.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, slowly getting into TikTok.
Yeah. What do you do then when you're sort of having one of your?
I have a mixture of things. So I'm like a big movie buff, and I love binging shows as well. So I've got like a wall of VHS.
Cool.
But I've just started getting into a little bit of like streaming platforms as well.
Okay.
So a lot of the time I'll like overstim where I'll have something like a film playing in the background or a show, and then I'll be playing solitaire or like different card games or something. I love puzzles. So I'll be doing puzzles. Sometimes I just do voice notes to myself to like process thoughts. Hot baths are really nice.
Ooh, yeah.
But I'll also like putting together a little bit of music as well. So off the back of voice notes, sometimes it'll twig an idea of an experience that I'm just talking about. So I do like a recap of the day, how I manage challenges, what I could have done better. I'm still shoulda, coulda, woulda all over myself, but it does help you realize patterns, and then there'll be little phrases I'll come out with, and I'm like, this is time to write. But yeah, I love, in the middle of the night, definitely, I think one of my favorite things to do is just to put together some music, and I love making weird sound effects with synths, and then soaking in it.
Do you like to use more sort of electronic devices and instruments as well when you sort of produce?
So like, when you're producing in like a digital audio workstation, it's great, but I'm a very tactile person. So usually I'll have a play with my synth, and then I'll just do like scat singing on top and like add nature sounds or something. I like samples. I'd love to play more instruments. I've got a harmonica and a ukulele, but I'm not very skilled. I'll like do the odd licks and I'll be like, this is hard, I'll come back to it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So like, have you always like managed to use a synth? Have you always had that interest in like digital like
it's very recent actually. So I've it's weird. I was actually a technophobe before I started the audio production degree. I was like, no, Y2K is still going to happen at some point. Like, the machines are taking over, this, that, and the other. I was, like, living my VHS dream.
Right.
And then as the course was progressing, I was like, actually, technology is really helping us do a lot of fun things that we like to do. And in particular, in creative indulgences. It is a brilliant tool for workflow. Like you can do as much as you want without those tools, and some people do better. Like when you're a resourceful human, you can make anything you want. But yeah, like digital stuff, it started to really intrigue me, and I found even sometimes when I'm on stage, I'll like look over at the sound desk and be like, what are you doing?
You're just always interested in like...
it does intrigue me.
So like being on your course has sort of changed your perspective, I guess, on how you view like technology and its use.
Absolutely. And now I'm a big fan, like not the ultimate fan. Like I'm still very much, if I'm socializing, I'm not going to be always on technology. I'd rather just be present and experience that person. But when I'm by myself, definitely I'll be like, yes, now's the time. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be doing this without technology.
So true. So shout out technology if you're here listening. Whoever technology is.
Shout out to the hardware and software.
Is that did you then? I guess you sort of describe yourself as a technophobe, right? I guess like growing up, then when sort of technology was developing, were you just like, nope.
I wasn't as into it. So back then, I think I remember being in social situations and free text was coming out, and I was still on like pay-as-you-go text. So I was like, no, it's like 15p per text. I'd rather just come and knock at yours and see what's happening. But I think as well it comes from like a less privileged background. Like I couldn't be rocking a PlayStation and like doing all the games.
Yeah.
The only tech that I had was like a VHS combo telly, and eventually I got a Game Boy Color. That was sick.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever like play Pokemon or anything like that on the Game Boy Color? Or were you like
Missed it.
Was there like a specific game that you were like
Gym? FM Gym was the one.
I know, yeah.
I still think of the tune sometimes. It's like, smash that. But FM Gym and Tetris. I'm still very much a puzzle person. But yeah, when I was younger, I mostly spent a lot of time just walking about, like long distance walking with friends. Yeah, I don't know why that was just like the most fun.
Yeah, I always find it interesting, right? Because I as a therapist, I work with younger kids. So I work with under 11s.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I always reflect on is like, you know, although there was technology and like iPhones and things around when I was like starting high school and stuff like that, there wasn't that pressure to like, you have to have a phone, you have to do this, you have to be doing that. And nowadays it feels like there's very much so why haven't you got a phone, like sort of thing.
Some people, you see them close to their phone dying and they look like they're about to have a full panic attack, and I'm like, oh my god, are you okay? I get that, but I definitely understand that now it's very hard to live without. Everything is set up around it, and if you're not plugged in, it's very hard to stay in the loop. And to me, I'm like, we are living in the Matrix. Oh my god,
it's crazy.
It's a blessing and a curse. I think it's like really a tool that you could use, and if you use it well, it works to your advantage. But if you use it all the time, then you're doomed.
Yeah, it is about that self-management, isn't it? It's like, yeah, even I'm aware, like, when I'm on TikTok and self-care, I'm like, but when is it getting that? When are my dopamine receptors going to have a break? Because I'm just constantly absorbing things through a TV, through a phone, screen, and just...
Oh, absolutely.
When am I having... I guess that's where creativity comes back in many ways for me. I don't know if you relate to that, but it's like, it's getting that sort of... those feelings and emotions, but just through a different way that we're so used to sort of dealing with on a regular and daily basis.
Like I've yet to hear many poems about phones. Like, and sometimes it's usually like an observation of culture.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm gonna cough now. You can cut that out nicely. But yeah, sorry, we were talking about phones.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's one of them, isn't it, really?
Yeah, sometimes I think to myself, right, when I'm doing a piece that might be new and I'm written it on my phone and I'm talking from my phone, or I'm speaking about different things like modern slavery, and I'm like, here I am speaking about modern slavery, reading it off an iPhone, standing in Doc Marten boots, and you know, all these things, and it just is like, I often have this might just be a personal issue that I have, but it's just like sometimes it feels like what you're feeling in that moment when you're writing, sometimes then you do it on stage and then your anxiety is like, oh, but hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Well.
To me, that like summarizes into one phrase. It's like disconnection from presence, just immediately. And I only really managed to write when I like put myself in a scenario where I can be present, even if you're just walking about. I remember one of the first poems I ever did. So to apply for uni, I had to put together a portfolio because I didn't finish college. I did art and design.
Right.
And just the last bit, like, something came up and I had to basically pull out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were like, oh, put together a portfolio, and I never made music before. I didn't have a door. I didn't have nothing. I had to go around to my mates. I was like, okay, let's like just make something up. And one of the tracks that I made was just this poem about the first lockdown. It's called Lockdown Lull, and it was just I was training hard. We got an hour to leave, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna bounce around in nature for an hour, come back, do me yoga. Oh, I had like a whole health kick. You know, I think everyone did the health kick. But
I definitely did.
Oh my God, I like dropped 2 stone in fat. I was like living my best dream. I was like teaching myself how to code and everything, doing like daily yogas. Anyway, I'm sidetracking, but yeah, and I managed to write this entire story about finding this woman laid on the floor, and I was like, oh my God, I genuinely thought she was dead. But it was that point where everyone was like panic social distancing, so no one noticed her. So I was like walking up the road, and I was like, this woman is like passed out, face down on the floor, mask on the floor, and I was like, is this person dead? I was absolutely shitting one. And I don't know if we can swear. Can we swear? Yay. We've got a nice kind nod there. Shitballs. But yeah, so I was freaking out. I was like, this is not the day that I want to see a dead body. And then I was like shouting over, being like, are you all right? And then this scouse bar came over. It was like, excuse me, love. Fucking like made her shit bricks. And she was like, oh no, I'm just pissed. Don't worry about it. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, what a relief.
Oh my God, it was the best story. Like, I howl to this day. It was 2 years ago, and I was like, that was so good. And I just like wrote a story off the back of that with like an African beat in the background, and then was like, yeah, this is my track. But it's small things in everyday life of being present where you just notice these little things and little stories. And that's, a lot of people talk about how poetry and performance and spoken word, it roots back to a more primitive era where people did used to congregate and just tell tales of life. And I think it's very needed. I think it's why so many platforms are so heavily used, is because people are starved for that. People are starved for conversations, for new things happening. And in this age, sometimes it's harder to do.
It is.
But
yeah, I love that. Yeah, like as you say, like some people compare it to like very primitive sort of ways, and it's like using our art form for storytelling, just like in that example you gave. You know, you're able to sort of describe that scenario, and you were able to tell it in a completely different way using music. And I think there's something quite like cultural about that as well. Like especially like in my culture, storytelling is big. You know, you go to the elders and they tell you all these stories, or even like turning to my dad and him telling me all these stories about, you know, back home and this was happening. And
do you mind me asking about your heritage? Like,
of course not. About it. Yeah, I'm mixed. So my dad's fully Mauritian. For those who don't know where Mauritius is, because quite often people are like, where's that? And I'm like, oh. It's an island just outside Africa next to Madagascar. I mean, mum's heritage is very mixed and ambiguous. Shout out to the slave trade, not really, but that's the reason. That is the reason why it's quite ambiguous, because we can't track family history very well because of it. But I'm getting annoyed.
To colonialism.
I'm like, peace, thanks so much for the colonization. I don't know where I'm from.
As a side note, oh my God, we'll come back to this in a moment, but as a side note, you need to come to a hip hop night with me, because there's this one guy that beatboxes, but he's got tracks being like, Churchill was a Nazi, and then just hard punching dub in the background.
Oh my gosh,
it's so good. Yesterday he did a set beatboxing through a flute and then wiping a Union Jack on his foot, and I was like, okay, this guy's going in on colonialism. I was like, I'm here for it. It's so good.
Let me know in the next one.
Oh my God, yeah, it's something where you're like, we need more of this,
oh
please.
My gosh. Yeah, my mum's heritage is sort of, she was born and raised in Kenya, Nairobi, so she has sort of African heritage, which has Indian and Portuguese heritage, and we are just it's been a constant confusion as to where, like, what her split is with everything, and so
Does she embrace like all sides of those despite?
No, she doesn't.
No?
Because I think because she has always had that confusion and she's never really known, and as she's gotten older, she sort of tried to figure that out a little bit more, but it's so difficult to track. So for her, it was just like, she takes on a lot of her like Asian African sort of side of things, like when it comes to like cooking, and that's her way of showing her culture and her tradition. But also like her physicality, she presents as like sort of, she has very like pale skin. I describe it as like olive tan skin as well. So there's also that difficulty in when it comes to trying to engage with your heritage and your culture.
Oh, absolutely.
I found another layer.
Yeah, there's a little, because I've asked other mixed friends, because my mum is actually from the Wirral, and she met my dad, who's from Liberia, in London. They met in church, and it was like an interesting mix and very controversial as well, coming back up north. In the 90s, they do not like that. But it was just, it built character. But it's interesting because I ask other mixed friends about especially their mothers, and there's like a certain generation where embracing mixed culture within this like this construct of Britain and the way it was, the way it is now. I mean, it's very encouraging now, which is great, but there are still aspects. And they lived obviously through a generation where it was a little more discouraged.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The reason why I always ask is because I'm just always intrigued to see how they embrace that side of them. It's still a side of me that I'm continuing to embrace and for a while rejected, and then was like, but it's a part of you, and to pay homage to that, it's like a growth journey, really.
Couldn't agree more. I really do sort of, so, you know, part of me one day wants to just do one of those like heritage like checks, even though I don't think they're fun. But also I'm also like, oh, do I really want to like be posting off my DNA like in the giving
like, more to the nature.
Yeah, I'm like,
you already know where I am at all times.
Yeah,
but here's my blood.
Also here, take a bit of this as well. Like keep it on the database. Go on. For them to come back and be like, we found nothing. And I'm like, oh, thought so, but worth a shot. But yeah, it is sort of interesting with like the mixed experience, I guess, in many ways. It's
definitely.
Yeah. I had one final question to ask you. And I ask all guests this on episodes in different ways. But I guess if you could like give any sort of advice, any message to anyone that might be listening right now, who maybe sort of might be multidisciplinary, might want to use all those crayons, or maybe they are, or maybe they're not at all, and maybe you just want to give some words of wisdom that helps you like navigate yourself on a day-to-day basis. What would you sort of say?
What have you got to lose? Like, initially I was like, don't take my advice. But seriously though, if you're thinking about doing a thing or something sparks your interest or sparks your joy, like, what have you got to lose, really? If you want to, that's why I always do that introduction where I'm like, do what makes you happy inside and out, because it's important to do so. And I think definitely don't spread yourself too thin. Like, I'm a very keen person to be like, let's do a little bit of everything. Well, there's no harm in trying. It's better to try than to not do it at all.
So
and
true.
I like used to read a lot into people's last word of wisdoms before they passed away.
Right.
And I've had family members pass away recently, and like you can see that they don't really regret a lot of the like foolish things that they did. Like, make a fool of yourself. I'm sitting here like in drag and full like purple wig. It's like, make a fool of yourself. But like you could always hear it in their regret. It's like, oh, I didn't do this and I didn't do this. And it's like, you've got time. Like, less than you think, but you've got time. And it's like, just utilize it. You can spend it in bed, but you can also do creative things in bed. And I've noticed as well since I've been out, the opportunities that spring up without you putting too much effort in is absolutely insane. And if you even register interest in something, people give you the opportunity to do so all the time. And that's the beauty, again, panning back to the scene. It's just, if you're like really nervous about a thing, just simply show up. You don't have to do the thing. Just show up and see what happens. And you'd be surprised. Like, I'm sure you can relate to that. Where you just, you'd be surprised where you just, the amount of times I've just gone out for a drink somewhere, to be like, oh, it's been a long day. I want to enjoy myself. And then so many little things bud up and you're like, whoa, this is a new life that's just grown. And I also will say that every person I've ever met who indulges creativity has never regretted it. Like, there's been ups and downs, there's been hardships, but they've never gone, oh, I wish I didn't let that side out of me. And
definitely.
that's everything for me, I think.
Oh, I could talk to you for like ages. Oh my gosh, I love that. But yeah, what have you got to lose? So true. It's so powerful, and that's like, what are you to lose? What are you to lose? Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Lumenate, for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I just feel so like rejuvenated. I just feel renewed.
I'm so glad.
Like, I just feel so chilled. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for those who've been listening or watching. If you are watching on YouTube and you've liked today's episode, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to us, because there'll be other episodes coming out and other podcasts and shows too as well. Massive shout out to the LVP Online for making this all possible, for the resources and all of the support. We really appreciate it. If you're not watching us visually, that means you're listening to us. It's just the audio. Oh my god. Whoa. So yeah, if you want to see our beautiful faces, by all means, head over to the YouTube channel, give us a little like or give us a rating and let us know what you think so far of things. I have been your host, Claire Beardraz. If you do want to keep up to date with any projects that I'm doing or anything like that, you can follow my socials on @ClaireBeardraz. I am on practically every social media, although you did hear my TikTok's private, so it won't be that. You won't find me on TikTok.
You just have to be Claire's friend. That's it.
That's what it is. Sorry guys. But yeah, thank you again, Lumenate, for having me, joining us. And thanks guys for listening. We'll see you in the next one.